Here come the Irish.
WeAreNDNation.com is where you can go to get all your latest Notre Dame news, notes, and highlights on the season.
Touchdown Notre Dame!
Featuring the new We Are ND Nation podcast hosted by me, Evan J. Thomas, and special guests throughout the season.
No one comes into our house and pushes us around.
Make sure you check out the Tailgaters Show, the travels of Rudy the Golden Gnome, and more. Follow We Are ND Nation on the socials, WeAreNDNation.com.
We are ND Nation! Go Irish!
Welcome to the We Are ND Nation podcast. Evan J. Thomas here, and with me is the one and only former Notre Dame quarterback, Malik Zaire. What's up, my man? Happy, today's Wednesday, October 13th, I think. Yeah, it is. Halfway through October already. Holy shit.
You know, when the good times are rolling and you winning games, it seems like time flies.
Yeah, and speaking of the win, Notre Dame comes off of their loss to Cincinnati, and they beat, who did they beat? Virginia Tech. I wasn't able to see the game because of the ACC network, which I don't have. You were able to see some of it. But Notre Dame won 32-29 on a last-second field goal by Jonathan Dorr after having to come back, and they were playing in a really rough area and stadium and atmosphere in Blacksburg. So that was pretty cool. But the fact that Coan came back, started, left, came back, won the game. Holy shit. What are your first thoughts of what you saw? Since you saw it and I didn't.
Well, you know, I thought it was good to see us this year, more so than years in the past, us really be able to look comfortable in trying to find ways to win the football game. And none of our wins have been super pretty, like most fans and most people expect of us. But what we can say is that there's a lot of respect that's given to our team for being able to find ways to get it done. And even though it's been, you know, against some unranked teams and then against some ranked teams, I think it's cool to see that, you know, we're consistent enough that if the game gets on the line, we've been able to prove that we can find a way to come out on top.
And we both said last week we were expecting Jack Coan to start. He did. So that was a plus, obviously, because him being a senior and being in, you know, rough atmosphere, I didn't think giving either Buchner or even Pine a start would even be smart. But starting with Coan at quarterback was actually the way to go, and Brian Kelly did. He went with him. Yeah,
I think I mentioned it in a couple of podcasts previous that I thought the best way to do if you're going to go a 2-quarterback system like that was how Purdue did us. They let the young guy go in there, rock out as long as he can, make plays, and he might have been the better player of the two, but when it got close down to the end of it and the game had to go into some experienced guys' hands, they put the veteran guy, the fifth-year guy that the Purdue has, and he went in there and he was slinging it and almost was, 80-something% completion, had some good opportunities for
9 to 12 on the game, man. So Coan's numbers.
Yeah, and the pick that he threw went through the guy's hands. It just was unfortunate, but it was on the money. So, and it just proves that when, you know, I got to see Jack get back in there, he looked like he's been there before, and he handled it as such. He didn't look frantic or like, you know, this was the first time in a close situation. And he went in there and made some plays, even some plays I don't think he intended, but it worked out because he gave his guys a chance. And that's what you want to see. You want to see a team being able to finish strong, like Coach Kelly always says, and having a guy with a fifth-year experience like Jack, it's a little easier to have that team feel confident going into those last couple drops.
And not only just being confident, but confident coming back down. What were they down 10 points at one point in you know, enemy territory, basically the whole game, down the whole game. And then Coan makes some throws out of his ass that were just amazing, especially that 2-point conversion that basically looked like Montana to Clark.
Yeah, it wasn't intended for him. He just he threw it and then he just came into the camera
came out of nowhere, boop, right out of the picture, and it came right in and took it down. But that was a game tire right there. And the poise and the moxie, as a buddy of mine always says, that usually that Pine has, but this time it was Coan. He actually stood in there to complete that pass. So it was perfect.
And you got to commend our defense each and every year. It's underrated, the ability for them to keep us in the game with our struggles and trying to figure out how to score points on offense. So from Florida State to Toledo to Purdue to even last week, you saw us, be down, but we weren't down and out. Even in the Cincinnati game, it was always within reach until the very end. And so for us, I think the defense deserves a lot of credit because they're continuing to get better each week. And then we're continuing to figure it out each week. So, if our defense was porous, a lot of these games would be a lot uglier than what they're turning out to be.
And moving to Buchner and the drives that he had. So he was 6 of 14 for 113 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 2 badly thrown interceptions too. But he also hit some really good passes. And finally, Tommy gave him the opportunity to actually go downfield rather than just try to scamper every time he had the ball. So that was, to me, a plus on getting him that feel to go downfield rather than just, dump, 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 run.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I think they took a good step in being more tuned into his skill set and what they were calling. However, it's just interesting to see, a quarterback that you recruit, that you put such a harness on, and it looks like it's not a smooth transition. Like, for Tyler Buchner to have an ankle injury that took him out of the game for Jack to come back in,
Mm-hmm.
and to have a hamstring injury that kept him out for like 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, that shows that he's playing really hard, and harder than I feel like you should as a quarterback in that aspect. If you have 2 lower body injuries, like seriously. So, that's the type of athlete he is. I think he's a good and talented player. Right now, it just doesn't look as smooth as what you would probably assume, or as a comparison would be like Caleb Williams from Oklahoma. He got in there down 21.
Yeah.
And looked like he was, Tom Brady back there. I mean, the man was poised, had some great plays, and they put up 50 points. So, that's just a comparison in terms of one looking kind of just like he's been there forever. And Tyler, like you said, is scampering around, running for his life sometime, making a big play here and there. He's got a lot of talent, and it's just focusing on what he's good at. And I compare a lot to how to play style of calling for myself. I could throw the ball pretty deep, but I could also run, and we could run as a team. So gave us a lot of opportunities to hit downfield things as well as run the ball. And then the intermediate stuff, which is where he had most of his struggle, is going to develop, because right now teams are knowing he's going to just go in there and run the football. So they're going to play a lot closer to the line, and they're going to play a lot more aggressive. So you have to essentially threaten them deep, which will soften them up. You can hit them with the run, and then the intermediate can develop. But if you're trying to go ground up and run, and short, and then throw it deep, that's just not where he's at right now. And if you look at his high school film, it's nothing but him running around and throwing it deep. That's what you recruited. So now you can't sit there and put him in a position to throw a bunch of slants and make a bunch of reads. That's just not, at this point.
At this point, not a skill set.
If you're going to be throwing him in there, you know what I mean? Now, if you started the season, like we talked about previous, if he just started the first game and up into this game, then at this point, if he did it that way, then I would expect him to be able to do more of what you're seeing from a Jack Coan or a Drew Pine.
And speaking of Drew Pine, he was actually he didn't play. Were you kind of shocked to see him not even get a rep in Saturday's game?
Well, I think less is more. I don't think anybody expected him to play anyway until he got a chance to play. So
that's true.
I think, he was a 1C guy. So, it's obviously that's what happens when you open the Pandora box of getting guys in there that and they have success, because it's only one guy that can play. So having him available to know that he can kind of back up his way through the game and kind of not completely lose it for us, I mean, that's just a confidence that the fans have. And in any tight situation, you're just looking for answers. So if in that moment he was able to answer it, they would love him like he should be starting. And if he didn't get in, it's no problem, because we got literally two other guys that you put in the game.
Yeah.
So we're not afraid to play anybody back there.
And going back to Buchner and Coan, obviously they didn't have their number one actual target. So tight end Michael Mayer was out, did not play. Obviously he was nursing that. Was it a thigh or ankle injury? What did he end up having? I don't remember.
Buchner?
No, what did Mayer have?
Oh, I think I'm not quite sure, but
Thought it was an ankle is what I heard. Something like that.
Lower body or something.
Yeah, something lower body. So they were without him. So you had Kevin Austin, who had 3 catches, 70 yards. You had Avery Davis, 3 catches, 64 yards, 1 touchdown. So they were your main guys. And also Kyron Williams came up big on the receiving end, 5 catches, 26 yards, a touchdown. And he came back, finally had a good running game too, 19 carries, 74 yards. So it looks like the offensive line kind of bounced back against this Virginia Tech defense.
Yeah, I mean, for us to have the numbers like that just shows we can have a lot of talent. Number one, we can spread the ball around real nice. But you think talking about 2 quarterbacks that are diametrically opposite in their skill set. So it's kind of hard to really know how far you can reach potentially with guys on 2 different levels. So it's good to see that those guys like Avery Davis and Kyron and Kevin Austin are able to find ways to make plays. But when you got 2 way different style of quarterbacks, you're calling 2 way different style of plays. And some guys are better at one style than the other. I think Kyron and Michael Mayer personally do better with Coan in there because Cohen's not going to add the dynamic of running around. So he's looking to give it to those 2 players. You see what I'm saying? As opposed to Tyler Buchner, when we put him in there, it's like, man, you got to go do something.
Yeah, it's like you said, I think a week ago, it's like backyard street ball. It's kind of like you're running, kind of rolling out to the left. You're trying to wait for somebody to open up, and then somebody cuts across or darts a little deeper, and boom, you hit him on the stride or whatever you can do.
Yeah, and for Michael Mayer, he's looking to run routes and looking to get the ball outside of his break.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Buchner, he's knowing that he's got to play it the down a lot longer and find space and run around. And so it's just obviously it's not a cohesive way or a consistent way that you would want to run your offense against a team that's a really good defense. So, that's what I'm saying in terms of finding ways to win. We do that because I don't think that at a program like how Notre Dame is respected, it can be done the same. That's why they don't do it like that. You don't see Clemson in there taking DJ out all the time and playing DJ sometimes or not starting DJ. You know what I'm saying? So even Ohio State and their early on struggles, CJ Stroud has made a huge turnaround and now he's doing very well. But, it's just one of those things that I think Coach Kelly, that's just his thing, his thing to be able to next man in every position.
And you mentioned earlier in the show that the defense, basically, they've been keeping us in the games, even against Cincinnati. But this game they especially did, obviously, because we got the win. But holding Braxton Burmeister, the quarterback, to 50% passing, 184 yards. We had an interception on him. And we shut down their running game, too. I mean, they had I don't have the stats in front of me, but they didn't have a lot of yards on the ground. And J.D. Bertrand, man, can you say any more about that guy this year? Because 10 tackles out of him once again. That guy's just balling. Yeah,
I think it just shows the strength of what our defense can look like in those positions that can make the most out of our defense. J.D. Bertrand's in a great position to make plays when he's called upon, man. And I think that's what a dependable teammate is. And the defense eats well off of that. So we have him back there with Kyle Hamilton and Cam Hart. I think that's going to be a very dynamic duo in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, with 14 leaving, I think those guys will take a lot from this season and grow upon that.
Yeah, Kyle only has a few games left until he's going pro. That's for sure.
He's not. Yeah, he's chilling.
He's not coming back. So one other thing I got to get into before we go into name that former ND player. Now that Alabama lost and they're 5-1, Notre Dame's 5-1, Alabama should probably fire Nick Saban, right? I mean, they did lose a game to an unranked team. And if you just watch what our chat groups and different Notre Dame chat rooms say, when you lose a game to an unranked team, you got to get fired. So time to let go of Saban.
Well, I think Saban, if he is fired, come to Notre Dame. If Coach Kelly doesn't want to coach back here.
I was trolling people the last couple of days, and man, I was getting, do you not watch college football? And I was just like, hey, do you not read some of your own comments?
That's what it be. Sometimes they have very hypocritical armchair quarterbacks out there. And in my opinion, it just makes the game better. Gives something more to talk about. Good.
So yeah, Alabama losing to Texas A&M. Holy crap. Like I don't think anyone expected that one. So if you bet on that game, good for you. Good for you.
They were a 3-2 team, like I don't know any players except the receiver they have that are worth talking about compared to Alabama players, and then
Alabama has NFL starters at basically every position. So
Georgia's the team to talk about though in the SEC. I think Georgia's the team to worry about. Let's put it like that.
That will be a really good game when that comes on. All right. So we ready for name that former ND player?
We're ready.
So you have a 3-win streak going on. Holy crap. You're over 500 for the whole time we've been doing this. So I got a good one for you coming up right now. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Former tight end. Played from 2004 to 2007. He played a total of 47 games. 100 receptions, 1,093 yards, 8 career touchdowns. You think you know a former Notre Dame player?
All right. I think I got something.
All right. So we're going to go to break. Make sure you stick around. We will come back. We're going to get back into, and I'll reveal that former Notre Dame player. We'll talk about the upcoming game in 2 weeks against USC and our predictions for that game as well. Stick right here on the We Are ND Nation podcast. Malik Zaire, Evan J. Thomas, right here.
Here come the Irish.
WeAreNDNation.com is where you can go to get all your latest Notre Dame news, notes, and highlights on the season.
Touchdown Notre Dame.
Featuring the new We Are ND Nation podcast hosted by me, Evan J. Thomas, and special guests throughout the season.
No one comes into our house and pushes us around.
Make sure you check out the Tailgater Show, the travels of Rudy the Golden Gnome, and more. Follow We Are ND Nation on the socials, WeAreNDNation.com.
We are ND Nation. Go Irish!
Back here on the We Are ND Nation podcast, Evan J. Thomas, former Notre Dame signal caller, Malik Zaire. And we are going to reveal, name that former Notre Dame player. So I gave Malik the stats before the break, and I'm going to give it to him once again. So this man is a former Notre Dame tight end, played from 2004 to 2007, played 47 games, had a total of 100 receptions in his career, 1,093 yards, and 8 touchdowns. You're on a 3-game winning streak, Malik. Who do you have for this week's Name That Former ND Player?
I'm basing this off of the 3 years because they were that good, which means they were drafted in the NFL. Tight end U, as far back as I can remember, the first one I really knew about was Kyle Rudolph. Is that it?
No. So if you, because I even give you some of the past ones that you've given, I will never repeat one. And
oh, you giving me Kyle? Okay.
I did a Kyle Rudolph the second time we did this. So if I would have given you Seattle Seahawks second rounder. He was Brady Quinn's favorite target at tight end. Come on.
Blank. I messed up.
All right, John Carlson. And the funny thing was, he was like a basketball player and a tennis player before he went in.
Yeah. I couldn't remember the last name because I was like, John, but John, what? Like, what
Well,
the hell?
unfortunately, you lost your winning streak. That's okay. You're back to 500.
And I'm
You're
thinking,
now Clemson, I think, for the year, so you're good.
you know what's crazy is college football. We might actually have a chance to get in there and really win this thing. We don't play Georgia, and if
We
we
don't
play
play Georgia. We don't play any ranked teams, so it's going to be hard to really get into the top 7, I would say. I mean, if we can,
after that win, though, I think we'll run the table. I think we can run this table. If
I
we
think
go
so.
11, we go 11-1, they're going to give it to us because we're going to make a lot of money on TV.
Well, I think I actually said at the beginning of the year that we would do 11 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I say I'm looking at it right now. 11-1 is what I picked, but the one loss I picked was this past week. I didn't pick the Cincinnati loss, so I have us winning all the rest of the games going forward. So we will have to see
You got a
how
good
that
chance.
plays out. So I'm on pace.
Like, think about it. Nobody's even leading the Heisman. That's
Yeah, like who
people
is
like,
number one in the Heisman?
I think Matt Corral's the closest thing, but he played well in the Alabama loss. He didn't win, but he played well.
I was gonna say Rattler, but he hasn't been.
He got benched.
Yeah,
So
yeah, he's not playing that well.
and DJ, he's terrible. This his team is terrible this year. I mean,
Unless somebody in
yeah,
Georgia pops out of nowhere,
and Georgia's got a bunch of great players, but no,
standouts.
like because their quarterbacks is okay. You know, JT's okay.
That's crazy. There is no standout.
And that's the first time in how many years?
Oh, it's been a long time since that's
Like
happened.
we knew from the beginning of the season that Trevor Lawrence, Sean Watson, Justin Fields, maybe Lamar, Baker. Uh, I mean, you could just go on and on. Tim Tebow, Johnny Manziel. I mean, clear runaways. We've never had one that was like, well, I don't remember one. Even Devontae Smith was a clear cut last year.
Oh,
So
well, once he won, yeah, he was clear cut.
yeah, so it was like now I couldn't even name you 5 players in college football that would be up for it. No, but seriously, like I could name 5 players.
I agree with you.
Like Mac Jones, Devontae, and then Justin Fields, and I mean you can name people.
Trevor Lawrence last
Trevor
year.
Lawrence, so that's easy. Now it's like all the people that was preseason Heisman are like not even close anymore.
Yeah.
So you may somebody will Wake Forest may get it this year. You never know.
You never know. The kid from Cincinnati, Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder can mess around and win it. You know,
Come out of nowhere, and that would be awesome. Okay, I'll tell you what. If he wins that,
it'd be great for college football.
not only would it be great for college football, but it would show us that we actually lost to, once again, the better player and better team. Obviously, we did, but
If you can find a way to twist the loss to make it feel better, that's a good way to look at it, honestly. And for a Cincinnati quarterback to win the Heisman, that'll say a lot. Shit.
that would be.
Ohio State would have competition and recruiting.
That's for sure. That would be crazy. I mean,
It would change everything.
it definitely
The
would.
MAC conference would change.
So,
Not MAC conference.
you ready to talk about? We could talk somewhat about USC. We got 2 weeks to talk about USC, which we usually do anyway. So this coming week we have a bye week and off week, which obviously is needed because there's a bunch of injuries on the team. Obviously, you got Mayer, you got Buchner that was nursing some injuries, so you can get them kind of back and ready to go for the second half. But USC 3-3 on the year. They're going to be playing at Notre Dame Stadium in 2 weeks. They're averaging 32 points a game. They're averaging 448 yards per game, allowing 27 yards or points per game. USC is not what we're used to. Actually, we kind of are used to this USC, but back in the day, USC.
Yeah, USC is interesting to see on how they can sustain a coaching staff that's, something similar to what we have at Notre Dame. I think Coach Kelly, that's another thing you have to at least commend him on, is the fact that even though we have a lot of opinions of him, he's able to stay consistent on, certain things like winning, beating the people we're supposed to beat, staying in the top 5, top 10 recruiting every year. certain things he's been very consistent on as a head coach, where USC has been on this roller coaster from jumping to head coach, and different things evolving in the program. It's just a lot of respect, because it shows that it's really hard, even at some of the most traditional and best programs. A lull can be a lull that's real long, but Coach Kelly's been able to hold it together and be able to make the rivalry not as competitive, because I feel like we've been doing pretty well during the Kelly era of beating our USC pretty consistently until we have to go to California. But the thing I do like the most too is that USC has had some years where they've gotten us. They Sam Darnold's year. He's had some win against us when we was out there. Cody Kessler, Cody Kessler got a win versus us when we went out there to USC. So this year, I think it'll be a very good matchup. To see Jack go against, Kevin was Slavic. Is how you say his last name?
Slovic.
Slovic. I think he's a pretty good player. So it'll be a good game, but I do think that we're the more talented one going into it, and we're coming off a bye week, so it'll be good to see how we look.
Finally.
Fresh.
Yeah, but I also think USC is going to be coming off a bye week as well. They usually do to play Notre Dame. I'm trying to look up the games for this coming week, and I don't see USC on here. So most likely they're going to be on a bye week as well. So we got two teams coming off a bye. I kind of want to get into this game more next week. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think it's a little too early to go into it. But I will just throw out some of Slovis's stats. He's only 54%, almost 55% on the year. 1,519 total yards, 9 touchdowns, but 5 interceptions. So, I mean, his stats are pedestrian, but his passing yardage is really good. So, they're averaging 318 yards passing per game, but he's got the 5 interceptions. So it's almost like you can kind of sit back and just wait for him to make a mistake on himself.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Freeman and what he's able to put out there on defense, they speed the quarterback up a lot. We've given up some big plays, but we've also been able to make a lot of turnovers as well. So maybe this is a game, especially fresh Cam Hart, get his legs back under him, and 14 roaming the field, get some more turnovers.
So I'm looking at this coming weekend's games, and man, there is one that stands out that looks like it's going to be an epic game. You have Georgia at home against Kentucky, number 1 versus number 11. That's one of those games to me that's like Georgia most likely will put it on them, but Kentucky's come out of nowhere, and they've played everybody well.
Listen, nobody can do anything about Georgia's team.
You think Georgia's the one? You think they're just going to run the table and win it all?
What they did to so-called out of nowhere Arkansas, and what they did to so-called run around Auburn, they're just overwhelming right now.
I'm looking at the games that Georgia played. They beat Clemson 10-3.
Mm-hmm.
That was their only week game.
Now Georgia doesn't have a spectacular quarterback that's going to Trevor Lawrence their way to make it look that easy, which is their biggest problem, because they have a walk-on playing quarterback when JT's hurt. And how do you have a walk-on quarterback with a NFL football team?
Yeah, that's crazy. And then, so I'm looking at the last 5 games of Georgia. They've given up a total of 30 points. So they have 56-7, 40-13, 62-0, 37-0, then 34-10. So, yeah, their defense, and I mean, they only gave up 3 points to Clemson. So the most they've given up is 13 to South Carolina. I mean, that defense is even obviously better than their offense. And that offense is putting up numbers, man.
Yeah, so that's the team that is on top right now. And as good as Kentucky is, they're not that good.
Yeah. Another team I'm going to say to look out for, Iowa, man. They're number 2 playing Purdue this week. Iowa's 6-0, and they've been putting up numbers as well. Not like Georgia, but holy shit, they've been
Iowa's just
They
the
really
more
haven't beaten anybody either, the way I'm looking at it right now, except for Penn State.
yeah, like Iowa's going to win the games they're supposed to win as well. They're a lot similar to Notre Dame, and as to you're going to sleep on them, but you look at their numbers and their record, they're winning all the games they should be winning, and then it always comes down to one or two games that they, just like us, it could be the whole season depends on it, and then we're just fortunate enough to be more of a worldwide brand in a team. So, we're gonna get the benefit of the doubt where if they lose one of those big games and they're 6-1, they'll drop 8 spots. What I mean? So it's just kind of how they rock and roll, but they're gonna be in the conversation every year. They're gonna get up until what November, and then they'll start filtering out after that.
And the last game that I'm looking at here, you have Alabama, who actually could lose 2 games in a row for the first time in I don't know how long. But they're going to be playing in Starkville, Mississippi against Mississippi State. So that's another game that is a fringe game. I mean, I still say Alabama's going to win it, most likely blow them out. But the fact that you never know, Mississippi State might have it on them and just, shock them like Texas A&M did.
Yeah, with them losing Texas A&M so randomly, and then for the game to be a high-scoring game, we don't know what they're gonna do next week. So it's hard to even say. I feel like they'll just outright win because they ain't even lose to a team that I can even point to. You know what I mean? It was just such an odd loss. So
It is, and it's just the way it happened too, because Alabama doesn't get blown out. I don't think they've been blown out, and I don't know, at least in that I've been watching with Saban. So the fact is, their losses are all like by a field goal or a wacky play at the end or something like that. So, that's
they look like a real good team, but a real beatable team too. Like things that the team was Texas A&M was getting on some of the routes, they were contested, but they were kind of open. More open than what you would have seen in the past.
and the fact that Alabama
Who was the quarterback there? I don't even know the quarterback
where
at Texas A&M that pulled this off. So
I couldn't name them either.
and that's what makes it the weirdest because you can name all the quarterbacks that beat Nick Saban during the height of Nick Saban. Well, he still had the height during the good days, and so this kid it's just all one off. It's a one-off thing.
Yeah. And it was, again, a shocker. So are there any other games that you've seen this coming weekend that you're interested in seeing?
Shoot, man. I think just college football another week to see who's going to be leading the Heisman race, and I do want to see Caleb Williams come back. And now that he's going to play against Oklahoma State, and that's a tough place to play. So it'll be interesting to see after you put up a 50-point performance, how can you turn around when the team actually game plans for you? It'll be interesting. So see him play that, and then. Like I said, I want to see who can pop out and be a Heisman contender. Like I said, I like Matt Corral a lot. I think Matt Corral hadn't had a bad game all year, and doing it in the SEC is tough as it is, and I like what he's got. So I'm interested to see if he can keep it up this week and then get back on Notre Dame football next week.
And the other top 25 matchup, you have Texas versus Oklahoma State, which was the game you were just kind of talking about. So there's only 2 that I see listed here as ranked teams playing each other. First one was Georgia, Kentucky, and we both figure that Georgia's going to just smash the hell out of Kentucky.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Wan'Dale Robinson out of Kentucky, number 1. Great player. He reminds me a lot of Rondell Moore that went to Purdue and is playing for the Cardinals right now. He's a great player. Man, Georgia's defense is just so crazy.
Yeah, they're just sick. So, how's your team doing? We haven't talked about your high school team in the last few weeks. So,
actually leading the league in offensive numbers, which is great. We're leading the league in offensive numbers, but we're
like interceptions as well, or what type of numbers are we talking?
Like yards, we got 3 people in the top 5 in the league in rushing and passing.
Oh, wow.
Our quarterback is leading the league in total yards, and it's a lot of positive things on the stat sheet until you look in the win-loss column. Now, fortunately, we can still make it to the playoffs. We have a game that's really our make it or break it season on Thursday, and we're excited. We feel like we'll come out with a win.
And what is Malik's high school team's record, if you don't mind me asking?
No, we're 2-5. Yeah, we're 2-5.
2-5. Okay, so you're putting up the numbers. So you're basically the Chicago White Sox right now. You're putting up the numbers, but you're not winning anything. So.
We're not winning like we should, but we are doing something good on the offensive side. And I'm excited for these guys. They really getting their highlight tapes together. So, you're not looking at a record when you're seeing a lot of good highlights when you're trying to get offers. So
progress and growth. That is what we're always looking for from high school, college, and pro. Because once you get into college, man, it's a totally different game. Once you get into pro, obviously that's a totally different game. So,
that's right.
But as long as you progress from day one to, end of the season and then the next season on, that is what matters. Like you said, you got to put that sizzle tape together, man. Put that 2-minute sizzle tape together so you can just show those highlights of tackles and run breaks and, open plays and stuff like that.
Yeah, no doubt. So I'm enjoying it. I think it's a good opportunity still. And we got to eliminate our penalties. It's hard to do in high school, I guess. But,
that's coaching. Remember that. That's all coaching.
It is, but these
it
kids
isn't.
are different in high school. Like, good grief.
Yeah, they are. That is true. Well, Malik, once again, thank you for joining me on this week's show. You have any last words for this week's episode?
Oh, man. Fighting Irish, take a break for a week. We come back at it next week.
Yeah, it'll be nice for me to actually take a break too, even though I'm not. I'm still going to be I got a bunch of shit going on. But make sure you're following Malik all over his socials. You know where to find him. Just give it to us so we know.
Hey, Overtime Malik on Instagram, everything else, Malik Zaire. Holla at your boy.
And keep checking out his food photos, which he keeps posting every freaking day.
He's inspired,
and
man.
I'm feeling great almost 2 weeks after the heart attack. I'm already out and about. I was in Cleveland last week at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, went to the Christmas Story House. So I've been all over the place traveling. And you can follow me all over the socials, Evan J. Thomas on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are ND Nation, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And we are ndnation.com, and follow the podcast all over YouTube is where we're at now. So up until next week, we're going to do a mid-year review is what it sounds like we're going to do.
Cool.
All right. Until then, you know what to say.
See you out here. Go Irish, baby.
Go Irish. Rock on.
Here come the Irish.
WeAreNDNation.com is where you can go to get all your latest Notre Dame news, notes, and highlights on the season.
Touchdown, Notre Dame!
Featuring the new We Are ND Nation podcast hosted by me, Evan J. Thomas, and special guests throughout the season.
No one comes into our house and pushes us around.
Make sure you check out the Tailgater Show, the travels of Rudy the Golden Gnome, and more. Follow We Are ND Nation on the socials. WeAreNDNation.com.
We are ND Nation. Go Irish!